guess what? I will talk about science is a human right. Let's imagine a not too distant future. Franco and Marco live next to each other. But Franco is genetically resistant to diseases, can run a mile in 3 minutes, can remember what he had for lunch 2 years before, and can choose his mood thanks to personalized drugs. Marco finds it difficult to get out of bed in the morning, can't remember what he did 2 days before, and to chill out, he just drink a beer. Franco probably will earn a lot of money, and Marco will cash his unemployment check, if there will be, in the future. And you can think that maybe nature was unfair in distributing her gift to them. But no. The difference is that Franco has had access to groundbreaking technology, and Marco hasn't. So the difference between them is not about nature, it's about science and technology. Franco will basically outperform Marco in everything. We should impede that this scenario become true in the future. How can we do that? Using democracy and the rule of law. In the human rights field, there is a long dormant right, a right which has been there since decades without anyone daring to use it, to activate it, a so-called sleeping beauty of human rights. The right to science. The human right to science, in a moment in which species are going beyond their natural border for their body, their genes, their mind, the human right to science, Sleeping Beauty, is there to help in avoiding people are left behind, excluded to this process. The human right to science is codified by the 1966 United Nations Convention on Economic, Social, and Cultural Rights, which states a wonderful thing: the right to enjoy the benefits of scientific progress and its applications, just as a human right. In a moment in which knowledge is changing every aspect of our life, and our life in this planet is of tremendous importance to activate this right, to make it awaken and walk, stand up and walk. Failing to do so could bring to the breaking of the unity of human species. In particular, along three borders I would like to talk about: genome editing, artificial intelligence and robotics, and mind control. On genome editing, scientists are already capable of changing DNA of plants, of animals, even of humans, in order to try to cure diseases or even enhance performances of living organisms. Let's imagine if this possibility will be available only for the affluent, only for those who can afford, and the others remain stuck to the genes of today. This would lead to a two-level humanity. The second border is artificial intelligence and robotics. Big data collected in huge amounts, even without our consent, processed at almost zero cost by learning algorithms, are already changing the way in which creativity, labor, politics is run. So, if only some people will benefit from artificial intelligence, will be empowered by algorithms, and others will not, this again could create enormous disparity in our life. Third border, mind control. The combination of neuroscience, exploring our brain, and personalized drugs starting to influence in a precise way our brain activity could lead humans to bring thoughts and state of mind just where we want, just where we wish. But in this case, it's very important that it is our decision, that we are not controlled or manipulated by other people. And there again, a third issue in which it's important not to create enormous disparity. You want an example of how fast we are going? You have probably seen the video that Elon Musk posted on YouTube. A monkey activating controlling a computer through its mind activity. This could give us a glimpse of how far we could go, and one day it could happen to humans. So the combination of genome editing, artificial intelligence, and robotics, which translate in material world, artificial intelligence, and mind control, is already changing the nature of human beings. This is why this is important, the Sleeping Beauty, the human right to science, to ensure that this process will not leave too much space to inequalities. You could object that inequality has always been there, and it's true. Maybe in the last decades, if you look at globally, inequalities have even decreased. But inequalities coming from science and technology could lead a new characteristic, which is irreversibility. Today, if you are born in the poorest corner of the world, you can still make it in life. Very difficult, but migrating, working more than others, training more than others, you can still make it in life. But if your handicap will come from permanent disadvantage because of not having access to those technology, well, it would be very difficult to catch with others in this two-level humanity scenario. So, how contemporary politics is reacting to all that? Basically, there are two reactions, I think both unsatisfactory. Prohibition and social dependence. Prohibition is the undying temptation for fundamentalists. Something new, I prohibit. Hiding behind the ideology of nature. Natural birth, natural life, natural death, natural gender, natural food, to launch a sacred war against what risks to be artificial. But that's a huge mistake, because civilization is artificial by definition. And prohibition push people to clandestinity, and clandestinity is a space of inequality and discrimination more than others. Let's take Italy as an example. If you have some money spared, you can go to Switzerland to have assisted suicide. You can go to Spain to have in vitro fertilization with eggs donation in a much easier way than Italy. You can order medical cannabis from the Netherlands and have access to embryonic stem cells research in Sweden, or surrogacy in the United States or in Ukraine, if you have some money to do that. If you don't, you are cut out of this possibility, and politicians usually turn a blind eye on that. Let me share my personal experience about this and about civil disobedience. In the last 4 years, I was under trial, 2 trials. In each of them, I risked up to 12 years prison jail sentence because I helped 2 seriously ill and suffering people, Fabiano Antoniani and Davide Trentini, to go to Switzerland to have assisted suicide. When I went back, I went to the police and I simply reported what I did. So a trial was voluntarily triggered in a way, but at the end, the Constitutional Court acquitted me because of the contradiction of the Italian law with the Italian Constitution and its principle of self-determination. And I think that civil disobedience can be a very effective tool to contrast prohibition on some civil freedom and individual rights. In fact, it was necessary to choose civil disobedience because the Italian parliament was not treating the issue at all, the issue of end-of-life decisions. So this is why I chose this way of civil disobedience. But when prohibitions are failing to control the phenomenon they would pretend to govern, another temptation is social dependence, which means politicians say, okay, if we cannot impede the dominance of the elite, let's at least try that the dominated are treated fairly. So distributing some slices of profits, of material benefits. But this solution leads to an equilibrium both unjust and unstable, because more progress, more profits for few, more dependence and assistance for the many, you get into the vicious circle, and it is very difficult to get out of it. Sleeping Beauty, Human Right to Science, brings about an alternative strategy, which is not against science, which is not for social dependence, which is let's embrace science. Let's use and invest in technology, but we use human rights, the Sleeping Beauty, the human right to science, to try to make benefits for everybody, at least when it is possible. The 1966 Convention on Economic, Social, and Cultural Rights has been signed by 171 governments in the world, almost all of them. But there are 2 problems. First of all, the additional protocol, the optional protocol, which allows any individual, you, me, anybody, to lodge a complaint against his or her government to the United Nations for the violation of human rights, this optional protocol was signed only by 26 states out of 171. And due to lack of resources, a final decision from the UN body deciding if a government will be condemned or not can take 3 to 7 years to materialize because of lack of funding. That's paradoxical in an era in which the borders of science, technology are moving so fast thanks to huge investments from privates and from the states too. Human rights and democracy are evolving very slowly and sometimes are even going backward in the wrong direction. This is why urgent action is needed. Together with others, we founded an organization named Science for Democracy. We launched an international appeal for the right to science. I invite you to sign if you wish. And basically, we propose the creation of a global coalition, of an international coalition of states, individuals, and organizations to affirm, defend, and protect the human right to science. Concretely, we propose that more states can ratify the optional protocol, allowing to you to make your right respected. And also, we ask all governments of the United States to fund appropriately the UN bodies in order that the human right to science is really respected. So basically, Sleeping Beauty needs a lot of kisses and needs them now. Thank you very much.